From the Green Room in the Historic Palace in downtown Middlesboro, Kentucky, my name is Gary Daniels with LMU Community TV and WLMU Cumberland Gap Radio. We are here visiting with
Flor De Toloache!
We are here visiting and a great night of performance here for the 4th annual Levitt at Middlesboro Music Series. And this is the second performance for this year. And an all-female mariachi band right here in Middlesboro, Kentucky. Can you tell us a little bit about yourselves, but first by introducing yourselves and the instruments that you play?
I'm Julie Acosta and I play the trumpet and sing background vocals.
I'm Shay Fiol, I play vihuela and sing.
I'm Mireya Ramos, I play violin and I sing.
I'm Yesenia Reyes, guitarrón.
And a great night of music. The crowd was energized. You all were energized. Tell us a little bit about mariachi music and the history behind it, if you would, please.
Well, mariachi is a tradition that usually is passed on by ear or by a community member or a family member. It originated in Mexico, in Jalisco, but it's played all over Mexico and all the states. It started as a very small ensemble. Originally it was violin, harp, and guitarra de golpe, which is a kind of guitar. And then later on it just grew, the ensemble grew into a big orchestra where we had many violins, and then the trumpet was added, and then the harp sometimes is still used, but in our case we have violins, trumpets, vihuela, and guitarrón, which vihuela and guitarrón are two of the original instruments as well. Mariachi is part of the evolution of mariachi. Usually mariachi plays music from all the states of Mexico because it has all the instrumentation, and that enables it to interpret
I see.
different rhythms, and the instruments, the vihuela and the guitarrón, are played very rhythmic, so we can do from a cumbia to a ranchera, which is a slow song, or a ballad, or you can do fusion, which is what we do.
Right. And the music too, the instruments in the songs themselves, do they not reflect different regions of Mexico, but also not only the different styles of music from each state in Mexico? Is that true?
Yes, indeed.
Yes. And so there's a lot of emotion in the music that was certainly felt tonight. It was, again, I cannot say how much fun that we had, and that was just us with the media crew, but the audience as well. And tell us a little bit about how your band came together and the influences, both not only musical influence but cultural influence, because there's a wide array of different cultures, is there not, in your group?
Yeah. Once upon a time, in 2003, Mireya and I met, and then started playing music together, making music, and then in 2008, Mireya had already been playing mariachi around New York, and she was one of the only women at all in the mariachi scene. And so then she's like, "Bing! I want to start an all-women mariachi." And being a woman and friend and guitarist, she's like, "Hey Shay, you want to be in this group?" And I had never played before, or really knew mariachi at all. So I just said yes, and I had no idea what I was getting into, really. But it was great timing because I had broken up with my boyfriend at the time. She had broken up with her boyfriend, and so did the other girl that started the group. So we just totally dived into the music and started rehearsing, and then little by little started meeting other women, inviting them to come on board.
And romance, okay, you have romance in the music, in the songs, but the fact that romance brought you all together, and this is a genre of music that is predominantly male-dominated, is it not? Now, what's the reception been like in the world of mariachi music, and here with an all-female mariachi band?
It's been a variety of things. We get a lot of responses. Some, are negative, and I guess that's what stands out, unfortunately. But I always like to talk about the time when we went to Mexico. We've only been there two times, but one time we spent some time there, our very first time, and we were all kind of scared of how they were gonna respond to our group because we're kind of rebels
Right.
in our field. We're very rebellious, I guess, and you know, mariachi is a very traditional. It's tradition based. So we were, you know, a little worried from like a lot of comments that we've received and stuff. But when we actually went to Mexico, everyone they loved us. Even, you know, actual colleagues, other bands, you know, they were anxious to hear us and very attentive when they, like, we did workshops and stuff like that, and they received us very, very well. So, hey, I mean,
well, you know, with tradition comes purist, and sometimes,
Oh, right,
and,
exactly,
and
yeah.
with purists, sometimes even like in our region here in Appalachia, let's say with bluegrass, there's bluegrass purists, but there's
Yeah.
variations, there's evolution in music,
Yeah.
and it sounds like there's certainly evolution, and you ladies are pioneers in this, are you not? Because the reception that you've received in Mexico, but what about elsewhere in the Latin community?
well, I mean, okay, I'm gonna say it. But they love us.
They love you.
Yeah, everywhere we go, we're pretty loved.
Well, I can
mean,
see
we-
that. I
we
can
do
hear
see-
that in the music. That's the reason why.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
People respond really well to it, and you know, the only times we see the negative stuff is like, you know, probably from purists and traditionalists,
Right.
and you know, or people that just want to criticize us for the way we look. We have curly hair. You know, we all come from different backgrounds. We're not purely Mexican. So we see a lot of those comments, but actually in person, people really gravitate to our music and love our stuff.
You know, with music, there's love, and
Yes,
and
exactly.
in that it transcends, especially in our day and time. I think it's a language that transcends culture, and I think it opens up. I think it opens up the mind and it opens up the heart
Yes.
too, to where we understand people and we understand cultures a lot better. And I've this is the first mariachi experience that I've ever had in my life, and the camera operator Elizabeth Manning and I, we were just mesmerized with your music, and
Oh,
but too the energy that you were giving, what you were giving to the audience, but the response to the audience that they were giving you.
Right.
What is that like for you when you're on stage and you see people coming out to dance? Well, how does that feed your all's creativity?
It's very inspiring, and I think that there's like what we're getting back, you know,
Mhm.
and that's the whole point, you know, of performing it for me, and is to be able to inspire people to either, you know, participate in the moment or just have their own experience. I mean, we had a man do a beautiful drawing of us, who was stationed somewhere in the region of Mexico, and was telling us he was so moved by the performance because it brought him back to another place in time,
Right.
and it was a very emotional experience for him. And there's all of those opportunities when you put yourself out there as a performer and share music and share that love to inspire someone to create something, or inspire someone to feel good, or allow themselves to dance and all those
Mhm.
things. It's such a wonderful experience to have, and then just to be a catalyst for.
Yes. Now, is there a timelessness with mariachi music, even though there's this evolution we spoke of earlier, the timelessness? And when I hear music, when I hear mariachi music and other Latin music, I picture old movies that were set in out west, and I see the landscape, but I also see the peoplescape as well. But I also see that old Spanish mission that's always there with the cross on top of it. But I can always, when I hear Latin music, that's what it conjures up for me, is this visual. And it seems like that mariachi music, it conjures all sorts of emotions, does it not? Yes, indeed. Now, how did you come up with your name of the band? Now, there's a story behind it, I
Yeah,
understand.
Well, we originally named the band Xochitl, which means flower in the
Mhm.
Aztec language, Nahuatl, but nobody could pronounce it or remember the name. We only lasted, I don't know, a few weeks with the name. But then we wanted to keep like the flower and the feminine meaning behind, you know, just the name that we Toloache meant, we thought it was perfect. But Toloache by itself is just kind of harsh, you know? It just sounds like a harsh word. And I talked to my friend, our friend, Sinwe Padilla, who's an amazing musician from New York, who also played with us in the beginning because we didn't have a bass player. We called him Sinuela, which to make him part of the band because it was supposed to be an all-female band, but he was the only guy. So,
sort of an auxiliary of sorts.
Exactly. He suggested to put Flor in front of the names, Flor De Toloache, and I just thought it was perfect. And the flower itself has all these magical properties, and it's a moonflower, and it's just pretty, and it's a very unique flower. So we thought it was perfect for us.
Right. Is the flower in your hair a signature piece for your band?
Yeah, it's not a Toloache flower, it's like a rose, but yeah.
But it's part of your image.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
And that leads to the question about the regalia, the traditional uniforms, because when I've seen film or photographs of mariachi bands, it's almost like a military style uniform.
Yeah.
But how did your uniforms? How would that evolve?
Well, accessibility mostly.
Okay. That works.
Resources.
Yeah.
Resources in New York, California, they have tons of mariachi shops where, and tailors where you go and you get a proper suit and blah blah blah. It's pricey, but in New York, we didn't have access to any of those places. We would have to mail to order that sort of thing, and it's pricey. So like they can run anywhere from 800 and up, maybe 500 and up. I don't know. And so at the time when the girls were creating a look for the bands, this was it started with a skirt. No, it started with a skirt.
Our own version.
Our own version, which is a little more traditional too for women to wear the skirts, but they were just a little bit shorter than what the women wear in mariachi, and then evolved to the pants with the buttons because we live in New York and we're hopping from gig to gig on a subway,
Right.
and you can't do that in a skirt.
No. But you have to be functional.
Yeah, exactly. So it kind of came up more for practical reasons, and then it became a very big topic of conversation. The fact that we wear pants, and another thing that the traditionalists didn't really appreciate.
But yet it's speaking up to the evolution and the pioneer spirit, is it not?
Yeah, and I think there can be a place for them all to exist, to coexist, and I hope we do get to see a traditional mariachi one day, in its full form and in all the traditional, live. It's powerful as well, and we wouldn't be so cool without the existence of tradition,
Exactly.
There's a contrast, and people wouldn't be so open to mariachi necessarily if there wasn't something so accessible about us, we can open the door for people to be like, oh, I want to know more about mariachi. Oh wow, look what a difference the women look like in this band versus the women in this band, and just like they can all be beautiful in their own way.
Oh, certainly. Now with tonight's performance, there were 4 musicians, 4 instruments. I understand that mariachi bands can have many more instruments, many more horns. Can you tell us a little bit about that, and then also if you could speak about the music itself, the songs from I would imagine the romantic ballads to the dance pieces. Can you speak of that as well, from the instruments to the styles of music? They keep going to you, Shay.
You said the first part of the question.
Tonight was a 4-piece, but I understand there's many more instruments that can be part of a mariachi band.
Yeah, I mean, usually what people are used to seeing is a 10-piece band or bigger than that. So it's uncommon to see a 4-piece as a mariachi, which is another reason why people don't think that we're mariachi or want to call us a mariachi. But what's also really cool about that is that you get to really hear each part, way more. Because I mean, in a very big ensemble, it's like in your face all the time,
Right.
which is also very powerful. It has its own beauty and own power, but in the four piece you hear all these dynamics and it's also beautiful. So, but we do have other ladies that are part of the band and they're in New York, and when we have bigger shows, then they join us. And the arrangements are made to be played either way, with a four piece or 8 piece or 9 people. So.
Now, with the music itself, with the songs, there's a lot that are, again, slow, sad ballads, I would imagine, and there's some that are so much energy on stage, which then everybody gets up and starts dancing. Can you speak to that just a little bit? About
The different rhythms
differences.
and stuff.
Yes.
There's a ranchera that we play, which is the slow one, very slow, like ching.
Right.
And the rancheras could be waltzes, and a lot of those are songs about heartbreak, and then the corridos also can be love songs, but there's a lot of it's telling of history and talk about regions of Mexico and pride in your state and your city and that's what I mean to say. And then there's Son Jalisciense, which is we wrote one of those, the Ruiz Señor, which is fast, and those are like 3/4 and 6/8. And that's they're all danceable, I suppose, but the ones that are faster, they have dances for them. And cumbia, guapango, and they all come from different states. Actually, Jessie is quite knowledgeable on all those as well. Her father is also mariachi, both these two have mariachi genes.
Yes. Now, mariachi music in throughout Latin America, is it as popular as it is in Mexico?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And actually, I don't think Mexicans know how popular it is in other parts. In Latin America and the Caribbean as well, like in Dominican Republic, for example, my mom's from Dominican Republic, and she knows every song and every mariachi classic. And if you go to a karaoke in Dominican Republic, that's what people say.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, they even have like statues, of artists, mariachi artists. It mostly became popular because of the Mexican movies. It was Mexico was like the Hollywood of Latin America. So all these movies came out, when were spread to Latin America and the Caribbean, and also even Europe. So a lot of people know all those songs because of those movies, and that's why people relate to the music as well. And mariachi just became like the signature, most known music, genre of music from Mexico. So.
Well, it speaks to the mariachi music, speaks to the beauty of Mexican culture, and it speaks of Latin American culture and the beauty and the depth that is to it.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Now, before we go here, can you tell us a little bit about how viewers and listeners can find information on you on social media and website?
Yeah, we are flordetoloache.com, Flor De Toloache at Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. We have a lot of videos on YouTube. A really popular one is Tiny Desk on NPR, Tiny Desk, and we have a 20-minute live piece there. And we're all over the internet. It's pretty easy to find. All Women Mariachi New York City.
And your tour dates take you many places as well. Where can viewers and listeners find out if they happen to be traveling? Where's your next performance, the next couple of performances?
Definitely check out our website.
Yes.
And we post whenever possible on Instagram and Facebook too. Thanks,
Wonderful. Well, it's been a wonderful night. It's been a great performance and a great conversation. Thank you for giving us time.
Thank you very
much. And we look forward to one day maybe visiting with you.
Yes.
Thank you.
That'd be great. And we have been visiting with
Flor De Toloache!